Hey everyone, I've got a build here, not quite as good as the one before. Yes, weaknesses in your build. So this was, if I recall, Dionysus, Poseidon, and then Zeus, trinkets, and here we are. So, I do have the large Hellfires, I do not have the triple Hellfires, and I do not have the Lightning Pole. Kind of an awkward use of the cast here. I do have Sea Storm. And I've got the push laser, as you can see here. But it's kind of weird. Okay, we get lots of lightning storms. Again, I went Dionysus first, looking for the cloud, and then was hoping for the lightning cloud and a few other things. Just didn't get it. Did have some unlucky rolls here. Say la vie, though. Anyway, recording this in case I want to use a clip for a promo later. And just because. Now, my interest in playing this repeat of the Lucifer gun was to see if I could reliably get the build from earlier with the triple combo wombo of the Lightning Cloud, Sea Storm, and Lightning Bolt, and clearly I have not. I believe what made that work is getting Dionysus randomly. I believe I went for trinkets on Zeus, Poseidon, and Artemis. So, hoping for a lucky roll on Dionysus seems unlikely. Bottom line, there is not a reliable way to make this the tricolor build from earlier. So there we are. That previous one also had a bunch of chaos buffs and all sorts of other stuff. I can see myself struggling to kill a skull as well. Alright. Not that I'm doing terribly here, but not what it could be. Got a Dionysus call. Somehow, actually. Not amazing. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's the mind control. Well, no wonder they're not dying. Right? Oh, come on. I don't even think that I have the razor shoals for the rupture. Which I'm sure I don't. Looks like I can give skulls a hangover. That's cool. He is taking forever to die. Well, that's how it goes sometimes, I guess. Really. Sure. You can see I had to buy. Well, I got a death defiance from Pat. So, not efficient, right? Ouch. You know, good lord. I do have to say, he looks kind of silly swinging that spear around like 10 yards back, but hey. Whatever. Reading The Age of Turbulence by Alan Greenspan. No, I'm not naturally inclined to be a big fan of this guy, but I definitely want to know what he has to say about some things. Actually, reading this is kind of hilarious, honestly. He's basically like, we had no idea all this stuff would happen, right? They just kept printing money and bailing people out and printing money. So there were obvious problems as early as the Asian contagion, which was 97. It's not clear when these Asian countries started buying U.S. treasuries, but the contagion burst in 97, right? So that means they must have been buying treasuries probably since the mid to early 90s. He actually doesn't even bring it up, which is funny. He's a smart guy, and he spends a lot of time not figuring out when the start of bubbles was and that sort of thing. So after that was the dot-com bubble. I thought it was 2001. He was saying 2000, same difference, right? And then there was some other minor thing. He hasn't even gotten to the automaker bailout, which is so silly. And then at some point, I think it was in the weeks. So we're still in like 2000. He's talking about when George W. was, getting into the White House. So because they had a budget surplus, the Fed was like, well, what are we going to do with this money? And they were like, well, let's have the Fed start buying other types of debt, like municipal bonds and maybe even stocks, I think. He definitely said other types of debt. So basically, he's just casually talking about turning the Fed into a thing that controls the entire economy, really. There's also a weird thing where supposedly the Treasury was handling certain things with banks and whatnot, and then the Fed was doing other things, management of banks. But what he's talking about was a reform act where the banks could basically the banks and the investment firms could mix and match and buy and sell on each other and have one-stop shops, like you can get banking at your Ameritrade and investing at your bank and whatnot. Man, I had a bad experience with my bank. Otherwise, great. I won't name them. It's one of the big ones, but when I was young, 2008 roughly, Went and talked to this banker, wanted some financial advice, thought I'd get financial advice that was, fiduciary duty. He convinced me to sell all of my stocks in an IRA and recalibrate them. And then he got like a 5% cut of everything. I was like, what? Yeah, it's like he was a car salesman for I don't know how much money. Super sleazy. And again, I don't want to name the bank partially because I don't think it was the bank's fault as such. Well, not directly. Goodness. I mean, they hired these people on and didn't have better regulations. Now that I think about it, it was kind of in that era. I mean, 2008, roughly. It was after I got out of the military, so 2007, 2008. A lot of sleaze. I don't know. I was pretty diversified already, but he was like, be more diversified. And in the end, it cost me, like 5%. It's like, this is just dumb. Anyway. So the Fed basically controls everything. These days, they have a plunge protection squad and all this nonsense. They basically buy and sell everything in the stock market. And I believe they basically control gold and silver and all that sort of stuff. So I'm reading this book by Alan Greenspan, and he's basically saying that round about this time, every time the stock market started to drop, they they would do something, right? They would alter stuff, and they would basically just print a bunch of money, right? With predictable results. But then the whack thing is he's even talking about, for some reason, worrying about not only growth and inflation in the U.S., which is supposed to be what the Fed does, what their charter is about. They were talking about worrying about growth all over the world, right? So the worry was that basically they wanted these other countries to keep growing for a peace dividend, so they wouldn't have wars and whatnot. Now, I didn't get a good date on that, which is kind of odd. It's another one of these odd things that's really important, and it didn't talk about a date or a year, but it was roughly around this time. Clinton going out, Bush coming in, and it's just like, yeah, all of a sudden we're worried about growth of non-U.S. countries. Actually, it's not so bad. And I'm like, so at some point, the Fed just kind of took over whatever it was the Treasury was doing, our monetary policy, buying and selling municipal funds and every other type of debt. Somewhere along the line, stocks, derivatives, I assume, they did quantitative easing later in the Obama era, which is effectively modern monetary theory, right? Where they just print money and control everything, basically. Yeah. So that's good enough. This is fine. I will have fun. Full on bounties. I've used them up. So when did this start? When did the problem start? Right? When did the problem start? I think when we went off the gold standard, honestly. When we went off the gold standard, everything was funny money. And it just became this cycle of, the government can't balance a budget to save their lives, right? Um, Bust and boom cycles in the stock market. and then the Fed getting more and more power until they're basically running a centralized economy, at least when it comes to prices. And he's talking in the book about being worried about inflation, being worried about, if you could just spend as much as you wanted and maybe not tax people. UBI with 0% taxes, effectively. He doesn't use the term UBI, but same thing. Um, hmm. I don't have actually any plans for what to do after this here. Electric shot. I'll just take it. It's decent. Right? And they just casually take over the entire economy of the U.S. and they just casually take over the economy, or at least prices of the entire world. It's like, oh look, it's us now. So weird when you think about it. And then he's like, I don't know what happened. Made a really big deal about September 11th, which doesn't make any sense if you ask me. Like, why does the Fed care? Like, really, what is a terrorist attack gonna do to a bank if the bank itself is not damaged? I think it's psychological more than anything. Oh, you dirty dog. So yeah, a lot of monopoly money floating around. So going for the divine dash. There we go. I mean, let's be real. I played this game enough, I can talk right over it, which is in itself kind of amusing. Um. Hmm. Okay, I can't take the dash. This is decent. So bizarre. And the weirdest thing is, like, he's supposed to be this very smart guy, but they just didn't know a lot, right? They're like, we don't know why this is happening. We don't know why that's happening. And this was in the era of Y2K, so first off, they had that problem, right? Well, this is interesting. I could take Drunken Strike. These others are good too, but let's try it. Let's try it going for Rainbow, right? Rainbow. I could go for Demeter last. Try going for everything. What's the good way to say that? Super Friends? It's the Super Friends build? Yeah, but he was talking about, like, that a budget surplus, and then all of a sudden they had a budget deficit, and they didn't know what happened. This was during the Bush years, right? So it came on, had a big surplus, and then all of a sudden there was a deficit, and they were like, whoops. After they do tax cuts and all that kind of stuff, and Bush is like, I'm Bush. However he talked. You know what I'm talking. That guy, the mission accomplished guy. And so Alan Greenspan is in this book saying, "Oh, look, we talked with the accountants. Turns out that was from capital gains tax from stocks." So they had. All right, keep in mind these are like the experts, right? The experts. And this totally blindsided them that if at least some of your taxes are from capital gains and you tax them at a different rate, well, mostly that it's based off the amount you sell it for, which it should be. That if you have a stock market bubble and you sell those stocks, guess what? How much you sell it for? If the stock price drops, you're going to get a lot less money. Oh, big surprise, right? Well, anyone who sits and thinks about it for a little bit should be able to come up with that. It took him like a couple weeks. He was like, oh yeah, a bunch of my statistician buddies came back and they were like, oh, what do you know? Like they couldn't figure out where the shortfall was, and they go back and they go, well, we just had a huge stock market drop. And he's acting surprised. Like, shouldn't the guy running the Fed it should be obvious? I don't know. Okay, fishing point. I gotta tell myself or I'll forget. Oh man, we got all sorts of stuff here. Satisfying punch. I just find it unreasonable. It's like, what does he do all day? Well, they sit there and they use a lot of words for what amounts to, well, do we raise or lower interest rates? And this is one of the things that really bugs me about these kind of people, right? You can raise it, you can lower it, or you can keep it about the same. I don't understand. I mean, it's basically an equation, right? Or maybe you're worried more about inflation or more about promoting growth. Well, you can raise and lower rates. And they do it like in this weird 0.25% once a month arbitrary way. They could do it by 100% and have it slowly go up and down each day. They could do all sorts of stuff. But they don't do any of that stuff. Why? Just because. There's no reason they can't set the number every day. There's no reason that they can't just come up with an equation and have the machine do it. Maybe just have someone make sure it doesn't do something too crazy. He's also surprised by one point they had people buying short-term yields instead of longer-term treasuries. This was around that 2008 area. So they just lower the rates. That was the inverted yield curve he was slightly concerned about, but so again, as of about 97, 98, they were already trying to prevent recessions by just print money. So a couple takeaways, right? The Fed's dumb even if they say they're smart. They're just not. People can't see the forest for the trees. Also, I'm pretty sure we're buying debt with more debt, which sounds really bad. And here's a guy, he's talking about, inflation is caused by us going off the gold standard. He just says that's a good thing. It's like, okay, fine. Let's argue your point. But then he's surprised at what the results are. Inflation and wacky stock markets that don't make any sense. I don't know, man. It just sounds like he's been spending his entire life thinking about money. And he's supposed to be the expert, and he's totally bewildered by everything. Maybe this stuff is too complex for any one person to even think about. I don't know. Okay. What did we say? Demeter next. So I could go Artemis as well. Okay. So we don't have clouds for our cast. So going to meter doesn't make as much sense. I can't get the cold clouds, which are the best overall way to activate Killing Freeze later. So I think I'll go Artemis here. Still got 2 zones left to get an Artemis, so we'll probably do that for Asphodel. Go ahead and take our Chaos here. Oh boy. Less speed, boons. Tempting. Also reasonably tempting. We'll go here. Not reroll. Speed up right away. As usual, we're trying to get a speed buff and then rush delivery if at all possible. Getting a Hermes here does increase the chance of that quite a bit. We'll just take the 20%. That's fine. What else was he saying? He's talking about interest rates as though it was caused by something other than the Fed, that they then have to compensate by adjusting their policies. It's really strange. So basically, the way they have it set up is they set the rate, right? And then when you combine that with the market, you get the ultimate price. So he wants to set the price when you combine it with the market, but they set the price directly, at least the prime rates, right? I don't know, it's very confusing how he's confused. You know, the Fed controls that, or at least the main rate. But then even that doesn't make sense because, guess what? They start controlling the price of stocks and bonds and municipal funds and everything else. And they do that by buying them directly. And also, certainly as late as quantitative easing in the Obama era, but probably before that, he really doesn't say. But at some point, they start buying treasuries directly. How do I know this? Because he talks about buying and selling not only treasuries, but municipal bonds and all that. So he's real vague on when that starts. So now you've gone from the Fed just setting rates to them openly manipulating the market. Keep in mind, they can buy and sell as much as they want because they've got infinite money. So he's over here scratching his head about, you know, I said Artemis. Scratching his head. I wouldn't really want Poseidon here because I don't have a great way to activate multiple pushes, and Sea Storm's not important. So we'll just do Artemis. I have might go with Athena for our last zone here. Elysium, I mean. So, if you haven't been following all this, a couple key points. The Federal Reserve manipulates the entire market of apparently the whole world, more or less. You see, during that Asian contagion era, somewhere in the 90s, right? The U.S. became essentially the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve of the U.S. became the Federal Reserve of last resort or of the whole world. Which people will admit to or agree with if you just word it a little bit differently, right? Lender of last resort and all that kind of stuff. So I'm actually not saying anything, too crazy. Weird. Gave me a chaos noise like I had a curse from being in lava? That was weird. One of my points is, this guy is supposed to be very smart, and he's talking about the most important changes in our global financial system, just casually, right? Like it's no big deal. Not even bothering to talk about how and why and when. Both are decent. This works with the combo punch the Demeter Fist here give us. I'll skip that. Not worth it. So I'm over here like, well, wait a second. If you set the rates, but you also buy and sell treasuries, and you can print money at will to buy them, then basically you're already operating in a modern monetary system. Which he's talking about. Oh, hey, this is a scary thing because the politicians will just spend money. So they basically create a shadow modern monetary theory or system where they can print as much as they want to buy and sell everything else and just decide arbitrarily, how much gold is supposed to be worth, how much a bond for a city is supposed to be worth, how much for everything. Now, they have a job to keep the economy going, but I don't think it's in their charter anywhere, or this wasn't some bill that I'm aware of for the Fed to suddenly go, hey, control the entire world's monetary system, or mess with it. All right, what am I talking about? Okay, you're a rich person, right? You got $1 million, you buy some Exxon, price is technically going to go down just a teeny bit because you moved the market. Okay, now imagine you're the richest man in the world. You're Elon Musk. You just buy a 9% stake in Twitter so you can get on their board and I don't know what else. Stock market goes up like 25%, or the stock for Twitter goes up like 25%. Partially because you bought so much all at once, and partially because people think it's a good thing that Elon Musk is buying it. And he's getting on the board, and he probably bring more customers in by reducing the censorship. Yeah? But if you have an infinite amount of money, and you don't care about the price, you'll spend $1 million a share. Suddenly, stock market's worth $100 trillion. Moves the market. Okay, what do I need here? Exit wounds isn't bad. We'll go to 8. There we go. Again, we want those lightning poles because they're delicious. Hmm. Very strange. Okay, peer pressure, no, that's the... Splitting headache. And calculated risk. That's not bad. And exclusive access. Okay, so we got some pretty good choices here. Yeah, man. Greenspan, oh, he's got some real gumption, man. Like, he's the guy, right? Doing all this stuff. But he's totally bewildered where this is coming from. Ay. I mean, did he think it was a good idea to just take over everything? Okay, never take that. It sounds good. Sounds good. I'm gonna take it this time. I don't really want to do these others. So I saw like 4 legendaries and duos. If I get lightning pole, I might go Dionysus for this last area, but that probably won't happen. Secret to dealing with witches is to have the divine shield or divine dash. By far the easiest way of dealing with them. But okay, we do have some duos with Dionysus, exclusive access. We have Rupture and a few other things, so definitely good enough. Was not expecting this. We're gonna go here, maximize our chance of getting Lightning Pole and other good boons. I think if you buff Epic, you get to Legendary, which is just stronger. It doesn't necessarily get you. Oh man. All good stuff. Just trying to get to 200 keys for a theme. So yeah, if you haven't noticed, I am, at least on levels that are easy, going to combine rants with video game playing, because why not? Help me distinguish myself from other people, for one. If for some odd reason you're watching all my videos, you can hear about how some other guy was like, oh, I'm going to break down all the builds for Hades. I'm like, quit stealing my ideas. Quit it. Yeah, Alan Greenspan's kind of a knob, man. Oh, no, stop it. I don't know. Seems like he might be kind of sort of friendly guy. He's just one of these weird guys that like gets in a position of power, and then people are like, yeah, he knows everything for some reason. I don't know, man. It's not like I should hate him personally. You know, if he's just some guy in the machine, and he kind of presents himself as like, oh, I'm just like a nerd, right? I don't know. Maybe that's true. I mean, if he's part of the Illuminati and he's in on everything and he's doing it on purpose, he's hiding it pretty well. Him or his ghostwriter, I suppose. Yeah. I think that we've been doing funny money so much that when we got to COVID, we just, and by we I mean other people, went absolutely ballistic. Okay, we do not have lightning pole. Huh. I think I want to stay with Artemis. Just a little less efficient, but I should get her in the rotation here at some point. Get ourselves a lightning pole. I can't go back to Zeus. And besides, it's got some really cool stuff, but yeah. I mean, I've got to get something, right? If I don't get Artemis, I should get a Zeus or Poseidon or a Dionysus. And those are all, whoa, not good for a fist user. I don't know, man. And then he's worried about inflation, and all of a sudden he just stops worrying about inflation one day. It's really kind of strange when you think about it. Okay, long knuckle. A few others pretty decent. Draining cutter. My favorite. My absolute favorite. Ah. To be fair, the timing, the dash does help a lot. Something happens, you jump. If you're using the Athena dash, it's got a decent chance of paying off. That guy legit went flying. Does that guy still have his shield? That's how. Alright. So we're going for the charged cutter, so I think I'll go here. I'm not a fan of heavy cutter. Slower for one. I actually forget what I need to get the thing. Okay, I grabbed the wrong one. For the big shield, but it should be okay. Well, I said to grab Artemis, so we'll go here. Should be a better chance of getting what I want. Well, that'll work. Hooray! I win. Pretty much. I don't know, dude. Well, unfortunately, this lightning bolt kind of bounces around a little too much for what I wanted to do. But I got no timer, so meh. Try to pay attention to where my mouse is, sure. Okay, these are a little problematic. Okay. Shield guys are annoying. That works. Okay, our build is actually done. So unless I wanted to go for fruit, I'll go here. Really no bad choices. I was like, where's the enemies? It's like, huh. I'll just chill out. They got slow. Oh, come on, dude. I don't even know what happened. Like, legit don't. So there's a big bullet. I was gonna dash it to bounce it back. Somehow it exploded and hit me with, like, everything. Oh, they flash and explode at some point. Fine. Fine. Okay. So the game's not officially cheating. Was satisfying. Good choice. The others are. Anyway, the book is The Age of Turbulence. Picked it up at a little give a book, take a book deal. Which is really nice that we have those in our neighborhood. And it is a pretty well written book. It's worth an entertaining read. I just find it really strange that just how the guy talks and, like, he seems to not think that things that are really important are important, and places a lot of importance on just like, oh, I had a meeting with this guy and this, that, and the other. But all the really big, important decisions seem to be just, they happen for no reason, right? There doesn't seem to be much thought behind them. And I don't know, man. Like, I mean, he's talking about these things. It's almost like he's talking about the things because he knows they're at least sort of important. But he can't see that they're important, yeah? Huh. Since we're all the way at Epic, that makes a lot of sense. Um, really don't need Pat. Actually, don't get a buff, because I do hangover punch damage. And I've got plenty of death defiance, and I'm just fine for health for the most part. You know? Oh my god. Oh, that's alright. In case it's not abundantly clear, that divine dash from Athena is something that's useful for beginners and advanced players alike. So almost always worth picking up. Don't get the cast from Athena. It's the turtle shell. Don't get that. Get the dash. The attack is kind of fun, punching away stuff, but or stabbing away stuff and whatnot. But okay, okay, okay. Thank you. So I could theorize, right, that Go for pushing down Theseus as quickly as possible. Go into riposte if I can. Hopefully maybe get the shield later. There's a few others. I don't need that. Don't need that. A little awkward here. Sure. Still decent. Push the stuff back to deal more damage. Could be useful. Not very useful, but at least a little. So I could theorize that Alan Greenspan was thinking about these things at a subconscious level, right? Because he thought stuff was important enough to bring it in to the conversation. But then only later, he's actually writing the book, or again, getting it ghostwritten, or ghostwritten with notes, whatever. And then they just kind of like talk about it. You could say that's because, well, maybe the ghostwriter didn't know that much, and the editor, whoever was helping him put it together, didn't think it was very important because they weren't as technical. I don't really believe that. I think it's not an overly technical book for one, but I think that he was worrying about inflation, and he's worried about this, and he's worried about that. But he just wasn't doing anything about it. He describes another episode from the portions I read, which is most of the middle anyway, where this is before the big bank bailouts, right? This like hedge fund was going down, right? And this is, I think, before 2008, and they basically talked to a bunch of banks, 12 of the biggest bank heads, and said, hey, if you don't bail us out, it's going to crash the whole market. So it's actually worth it, at least loaning us money. And they had derivatives and all that. But this was before the big Lehman Brothers and all that. And people were mad because they were like, yeah, too big to fail, eh? Jerks, right? So it's like there was a precursor to the big crash. Maybe it set a bad precedent. It's kind of what we're supposed to take from that. Come on. You're, ah, like waiting for the guy, literally waiting for the guy to shut up so he can die. It's like, come on, dude. It's one of the funniest phrases you can say. What? That doesn't, not worded like a question, or not emphasized like a question, just like deadpan. What? You going down, buddy? Mm. Okay. Could actually take something here. Now, this doesn't always work, but it seems like it sometimes works. So, we'll try it. Like that 20-second shield. I'm a big fan of talking about gameplay elements. That divine shield that I'm trying to get from Athena, one of the reasons it's good is because it's visual. You can see when you have it. We do have an Athena. Mess around a bit first, though. Now, do I get like 6 knockbacks with the uppercut? The charged cutter. Maybe? Hmm. Oh, it activates with the divine dash as well. Yeah. What did that? But yeah, smacking them around with this, and then this could be good. Now, I've experimented. I'm sure I've seen this also activate the lightning with Sea Storm, but I'm reasonably sure I've seen it not happen. So maybe there's some other mechanic, like, I don't know what. Oh, no lightning here. Huh. Whatever. And why that guy? It's like Fauci, right? They put this guy on television. They're like, oh, he's the guy. People are like, oh, he's the guy. He knows he's the guy. He's the guy. And what does he know? I think. He's not saying this, but I think, right? That the more they mess with the economy, the worse it gets. Really. I mean, it is a form of market distortion, right? He's also talking about Russia, which is the thing now. How little their economy is. Of course, the size of the economy has a lot to do with the price of their stock market. At least the way we measure it. Which, if we're paying attention, is a really dumb way to measure things. But hey, what do I know? Just a author, sometimes blogger, YouTuber of ill repute. Don't know nothing. News junkie. What do I know? All I do is look around and pay attention to what's going on, rather than a bunch of wishful thinking and shenanigans. Well, that knockback doesn't seem that powerful on paper, but man, it makes those Skaven or whatever they are just go flying. Hey, get over there. That's good enough. Uh-huh. I don't know. Maybe it makes more sense than video game logic, where somebody just keeps leaving pots around with money inside it. Sure. I'm just going to go through all of them. I'll go Athena last to really build up the tension, yeah? I like how it wasn't even using. So there's a dash uppercut, which is really hard to activate, but at least if you're doing WASD, you either need to be really fast or I don't know what. Yeah. But yeah, they put a guy on the TV and they're like, oh, he's the guy. None of these dorks know anything, man. Just you think Jim Cramer's advice on buying stocks is good? Come on. Hmm. Yes. Sure. Okay, fountain's useless. Some of these are not amazing. Could take splitting headache, but it's not too likely. I've got this exclusive access, doesn't do anything in this situation here. And I've already got it, and I've got bad influence, so I don't want this. Not anchor. The anvil might be useful, actually. Just so you know, I'm getting to carpal tunnel, but I will keep at it just for you. I have to take quitting in the middle. Yeah, man. Alan Greenspan, he's just like a fixture on the TV back in the day. Of course, it was a whole different world. Y2K problems, like the computers were running out of numbers. It's like, what? Of course, now we have even more information than ever, but it still doesn't do anything. Even when someone does see the problem, like, oh, there's going to be inflation, it's like, nobody does anything about it. And what are they supposed to do about it now? They... Man. We have inflation because they printed money, because they panicked about a virus. That I can't say too much about on YouTube, because they have censorship, because people are ridiculous, and because there's a bunch of Karens that won't let you say bombastic things, or true things, or any kind of thing like that. And they censor all the most important stuff. Like a bunch of nincompoops. It's like, come on, bro. Just let us talk about it. Let us vent some steam. Why are you trying to prevent us from talking about the thing that you talk about all day? And so what if we're wrong? Which we're not. But, come on. Oh. He also talks about Donald Rumsfeld. Talks about how amazing that guy was. Like, come on, dude. God. Not first on my list of guys to call smart and highly capable Donald Rumsfeld. He's capable of getting us into wars. How about that? Artemis. Not amazing on paper, but really good, actually. Man. Mm. Yeah, man. I think it's part of a larger phenomenon of hero worship. There's gotta be some caveman stuff going on there where we look to this wise old leader or the alpha male or whoever. Like, oh yeah, they're the stuff. Most of these people don't know anything. Like, there's a bias, right? Where a person's right, so you listen to them. But maybe they were just lucky, right? Maybe they got into the position and they were lucky. Maybe their predecessor, if they're in some office, right, did a good job. That might have also been luck, thus setting them up to succeed. And then everyone goes, well, this guy was real smart. I don't know, man. I'm not convinced on some of it. They also say, don't meet your heroes. Kind of the same thing. I mean, we have all these expectations that people are like superhero types or like, I don't know, man, like just smarter than us, maybe, somehow. Like, how are they supposed to be smarter than us, right? Man, I played too much of this game. I'm like constantly reaching for the mute button and just, I don't know, multitasking, would you say? Stop killing me. More, eh? Okay, maybe not the most efficient way of doing this, but that's alright. Sure. Okay, so let's say that we listened to Alan Greenspan because we thought he was smart, but he's roughly a regular guy. Nobody really knows what to do about that, though, you know? Wow, that guy teleported. I like breaching cross the tape, blah blah blah. Oh, I had draining. Doopadoo. Okay, that's not bad. Yeah, I've been doing things like breaching cross a lot more, just to deal with these groups of armored skulls and whatnot. I gotta say, it's been paying off. You would think it's less efficient, but the thing is that, well, first off, I mean, armor's stronger than it looks, because, I don't know, you do like, if I had to guess, 20% damage to armor, or something like that. So it's actually a really efficient buff to your total, I don't know, DPS or whatever. But then, armored enemies are extra difficult, especially the small ones, for a couple of reasons. But having the benefits package sort of multiplies that out, so being able to deal with those guys extra quick is useful. For example, when I'm fighting Dad up here, I've got Extreme Measures 4, of course, because that's just how I roll. And he tends to have mini bosses, which means that Breaching Cross, they have armor anyway. So the Breaching Cross is extra useful. But then, I've been getting a lot of the Crystal Monster, which has little Crystal Monsters, right? So then you extra want something to dig through all that armor. Okay, I don't have a good way. Well, that helps a lot. A little messy, but yeah. So I was talking to those people at the coffee shop that were talking about this game, and I tried to really get this across that you could play with stats and basically guarantee that you get what you want. He said, "Yeah, you can do the keepsakes and this, that, and the other." And I was trying to say, no, this goes even further than that. But he didn't believe me. What do I know? Just over here talking about the Fed and whatnot. Right? 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 Holy cow! Holy cow! Tuh. Man, paused for a bathroom break and got all discombobulated. I could edit it out, but I'm just not going to. So, there we are. Two over there, okay. Guess that's pretty funny. Let's call it humorous, eh? One in your face, one over there. Sure. One down there. Skull. No. Well, man, maybe I should have dropped more stones since it gives you shadow. I got it, so I grab some more darkness here. Oh well. I'm just gonna shield at third and 2/3, so I'm not convinced if I want to use the Artemis ability on this guy. Oh, I've got a shield too. That's nice. Yeah, I wasn't sure this keepsake would pay off. I assume that's what put things over the edge. I didn't have to do a bunch of rerolls. I might not have gotten um, that Athena buff otherwise. We got a cat on the mouse pad. We may pause again. Anyway, we're complaining about the Fed and whatnot. Nobody cares about Let's Plays anyway. Not that much. Oh, I didn't see that giant guy there. Oh my god. You dirty dog. Man, that actually stings kind of a bit. Come on. Well, I'm still kicking his butt. Yes, really. Sure. We'll save this for phase 2 here, I think. Now, I don't know if there's any benefit or problem if these blocks things or anything like that. Be good probably to know. I'll just blast him as soon as he blasts at me. That's kind of fun. Just stunt on him a little bit. Oh, lost my shield. What am I going to do? Where are the doopadoos? There they are. There's one. And we can toss that over there. Alright. Hmm. Christ. It's all thirsty because I had a bunch of coffee in the morning. Went to 2 different caribou coffees. I don't know what my problem is. So it's all thirsty. I even had like a third of a cup or some very small amount here this evening. So now I'm all thirsty. Drinking all this water. Making weird noises. I guess I'm done complaining about the Fed. You know, whatever. Whatever. Sliding around? Okay. That'll work. I was calling those lasers. Yeah, I think standing behind the rocks and just calmly doing stuff seems to work. For the most part. I hit him so much. Charged up the bar again. Fortunately, there we go. I don't know about that, buddy. Okay. Let's try not to activate the pot, but I think that was just going to happen. Well, that shield is doing a good job of keeping me alive right now. Okay. I don't have a good answer for that. I'll just have him sit. Oh! Now, I don't think that he can do that over and over, like, infinitely, so... It's probably worth punching him a few times when he does that, the life drain, though. Just gonna guess. I don't know about that. Ooh. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. There's one up there. That one's dead. That's blown up. Well, if you've made it this far, you get some sort of award for watching me play a very silly game and also complain about the Fed. See how we die here in a second. I mean, she's a little intense for a stepmommy. That was fun. See you around.